The mafias of school education were much worse than the mafias of coal. Exams चल रहे थे. जैसे ही मैं एक सेंटर पे पहुंचा, वहां से लोग खिड़की से कूद के बाहर निकल रहे थे.
What are your expectations from Modi 3.0?
He's an absolutely outstanding leader. There's no doubt about it. In UP, I don't think it's performance that matters.
So there is a price to pay for doing good work.
It is nice to dream. Everyone should dream. But you have the feet firmly on the ground.
Welcome to JarXchange and thank you so much for giving us your time.
Pleasure to be here.
We have just had elections and थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में आपसे चर्चा करनी है बस. You have looked at UP very, very closely for the last few decades and that was a big shocker this time. So what do you think happened? मतलब आपके
You know, I'm not a political observer. Let me
Correct.
confess it to
That's
you.
okay.
And whatever I have written in my books is purely my personal experience.
हाँ जी.
I may have a point of view, but I'm not a professional political observer. These days, you have so many of them. UP surprised me a bit. I was personally speaking, and UP that I know, I thought that the BJP may not do as well as they did last time, but not as badly as they did this time. And I did try to analyze a bit, though I'm not a political analyst.
That's okay. It's personal.
But
It's
I think the primary reason why Samajwadi Party did well was of the selection of candidates. And if you look at the list, I think the party did not pick up too many Yadavs. So Yadav votes in any case came to them. They picked up candidates who had strength on caste lines in those regions. And that, I think, was the difference.
And it was not anything to do with not being happy or anti-incumbency with the Yogi.
See, the people appear to be fairly satisfied with what Yogi is doing, by and large.
Yeah.
In UP, I don't think it's performance that matters. I am a student of political science, and I read Rajni Kothari's book. And what has been indicated in that book is that before independence, caste was the determinant in the social hierarchy.
Okay.
Post-independence, caste became a determinant in hierarchy.
One of the.
But yeah, one of the many. Before independence was the.
Got it.
But in UP, it continues to be the determinant, it seems. So caste determines a lot.
But is it just in UP? You don't observe it anywhere
I have
else?
not observed much in other states. Since I come from UP, I can comment on UP a bit. But elsewhere, it's like anybody's guess.
Okay. Do you think that Election Commission of India did a fair job in this election? Because we are just abhi cabinet hua hai.
I would believe they would have done a fair job in the election itself. But before elections, what happened was not very fair.
Okay.
I mean, frankly speaking, they should have come down heavily on everyone who was making those
Statements.
fiery statements, communal statements. They should have come down. That's the job of Election Commission.
Have you seen the era of T.N. Sheshan? Or
Oh yes, I was a district magistrate when he was.
तो कोई किस्सा ऐसा बहुत सुना है मैंने अपने पापा से और अंकल
उस समय तो टीएन सेशन का खौफ इतना था कि कोई किसी की हिम्मत नहीं होती इधर बोलने की. So you could get away with anything. As a district magistrate, no one neta will come to you. No neta will even dare to say anything which was against the code of conduct. So I'm not sure whether that's the right way. You don't have to put
is that how it is
not
supposed
put
to
that
be?
khawf. But I think discipline is the key. An election commission is tasked with that responsibility of disciplining people who are indisciplined, no matter where they are. And in one of the conferences, the chairman, the CEC mentioned that we did not call up the top people, we just conveyed it to them. What is this? Everyone is equal in front of election commission. That's how I did when I was in the service. Take action against the top men, rest of them will fall in line. Why should you leave them? Whoever the top people were, election commission should have issued notices to them. And that would have signaled to others that I can take action against the top man, I won't spare you either. It would have gone down very well. I'm not very sure whether election commission did the right thing. The process itself, see, I'm personally of the view EVMs absolutely fine. I mean, it's nonsense to talk about EVMs being manipulated. It's all nonsense. I have seen how EVMs work. It's very difficult to manipulate them. And I have had discussions with technology people also. They said it can be done this way. I said, you can do it to a EVM machine. You can change the software, then there will be a pattern that you can see in all the EVMs and you can catch it. It's not possible.
So by and large, you're saying AVMs and elections are fair. So we have done some videos on election commission and the work that they do, in the sense the number of booths, the number of people, and the way they arrange. I think there is one place in India where there's only one voter and they still arrange the voting
No, it's
machines. But
phenomenal exercise.
the exercise is just one of the.
We are proud of Election
Yeah.
Commission of India. In fact, when everyone was talking about decaying institutions and destruction of institutions, Election Commission, UPSC, these were the organizations we were proud of, and they stood up there. But unfortunately, what we see of Election Commission in the past few years creates a lot of doubt. What happened to Ashok Lavasa, I have mentioned that. I mean, the guy's family was hounded.
Yeah.
Now, this is unheard of as far as such institutions are concerned.
सर आप ये जिस तरीके से बात करते हैं, जब आप सर्विस में थे तभी भी यू वर वेरी आउटस्पोकन, राइट? तो इज देयर अ रीजन दैट द अदर्स आर नॉट? मतलब
I don't know, only they can explain. How can I explain on behalf of somebody else?
Okay, is there a protocol that a serving officer cannot
No,
say
I
such
followed
things?
that protocol.
Okay.
I mean, I was not violating a single step in the protocol. I never was outspoken in public. Public, I was very guarded because that's the code of conduct and I have to follow that. But within the government, during the course of internal discussions, I was very outspoken, very politely, but conveyed my point of view to everyone. Prime ministers, chief ministers, I worked with them. I have no problem. And so to say, I can't recall having coming to grief speaking out. So if others don't speak out, only they can explain why they don't do it. There's no harm in fact, you are respected. In fact, if there is a crisis, you are picked up. You're asked to undertake that job. Provided you don't have expectations of politicians. I think I've written that in my book, last book also. The real problem is my expectation of the politician. If I don't expect anything from him, I'm giving my objective advice or subjective advice, whatever I think, I'll tell them. And then I don't take it personally if I'm overruled. That's a professional advice.
Yeah, but there's a price to pay for it. Have you paid any
Yes, there is a price to pay for agreeing or disagreeing. Either way. I mean, nothing comes free. So sometimes politicians did get annoyed. So be it. But then over a period of time, they come to realize that he has no personal axe to grind. And it matters a lot. You know, I've narrated this incident right in the beginning of my career when I was posted as Special Secretary to Mr. Kalyan Singh, Director Information, where I spoke my mind out in front of the Chief Secretary. That point in time, very senior officer, the DGP, I spoke my mind out. And he agreed with me.
And you were very young that time.
I was very young. I was into 10 years into service. So it's just a matter of habit. You can't become outspoken suddenly. You can't stop being outspoken until you get so hit so hard that you think twice before you speak.
ठीक है सर, उस पे तो डिटेल में जाएंगे. What are your expectations from Modi 3.0? We had this swearing in yesterday.
You know, I have seen Mr. Modi from very close quarters as Secretary Cole. He's an absolutely outstanding leader. There's no doubt about it. He had those leadership qualities. He has those communication skills. If it comes to his mind, he will do it. The only problem that I saw in the second half, after 2.5 years, was there was too much centralization. And I hope this time it's not as centralized. I mean, ministries should have some freedom to do what they have to do. I felt that almost everything was getting referred to PM. That is one. The second is, I hope he has better advisors around him who allow feedback to go to him. Because sometimes I had this feeling that no one had the courage to speak up before him. And it was harmful for him, the country and the government. I had always felt that why shouldn't he have people around him who spoke their mind? Because ultimately he's the decision maker, no? So he can always decide what he has in mind. So give you an example. There were repeated cases where Mr. Modi was making factually incorrect statements. Okay? Now, had he had the right secretariat with him, those guys should have told him, sir, this is factually incorrect. I don't know whether they told them or not. But the fact that he was repeating those factually incorrect statements, I felt that they're not telling him. Because he may still decide to make a factually incorrect statement if he feels politically necessity. But to expect a prime minister to know every fact, is incorrect. I mean, how can you expect a prime minister? That's the job of the people around him to tell him, sir, this is factually incorrect. You can still take a call and make that statement, but that needs to be pointed out. So you have to have people around him who have the courage to speak to him and speak the mind out. Let him take a decision. He will stand to benefit, country will stand to benefit, government will stand to benefit if that feedback, both positive and negative, flows to him. So I hope on these two fronts, it happens that way.
Okay. Now, coming to the media part of it, because as you said, advisors for PM Modi can be better and they can give better feedback. The other thing is the questioning. Do you think, and I waited for you to answer this question because I'm very passionate about this. Do you think that the media in this country is being fair, has been fair in the last
I mean,
few years?
they've been grossly unfair to the government itself.
To the government?
Yeah, unfair because they're not giving the feedback. See, the point is the job of the media is to tell the government what is right and what is wrong. Now the media stood so divided that one part of the media appreciated everything that was happening. The other part of the media, which is YouTube-based
Digital,
media,
yes.
digital media, they were only criticizing.
वो सिर्फ गालियाँ निकाल रहे हैं,
सिर्फ
वो-
गाली निकाल रहे हैं. So, I think 2 months ago, I was invited to Harvard to deliver a talk, and then I went to Berkeley also. And I asked them, why did you call me? So one of them told me very clearly that we were looking for somebody who was balanced, who could both appreciate and criticize at some same point in time. The tragedy which our media today is, या तो भक्त है, या totally negative है. It doesn't work that way. So who does even Mr. Modi trust now? If I were Mr. Modi, who would I trust? He's totally critical. He's totally appreciative. There has to be a balance. That's the role the media has to play. The media has to provide that feedback. You like it, dislike it, that's a different matter. So there are two parts of reporting. One is the factual part of it, no? The other is the opinion part of it. I've seen media reporting factually incorrect statements.
Correct. Repeatedly.
Now that is not done. You can be selective in picking up certain facts and then making an opinion. That is also not very good, but you can pardon that. But if you repeatedly make factually incorrect statement, pick up half-truths and present them, that is not done.
So, sir, from a policy making perspective, इसका solution क्या है? Are there other examples in the Western countries where media is more?
Why go to Western countries? This country 10 years ago was the same. The media was giving feedback. Media was sometimes overcritical, but it's better be overcritical than be appreciative. You know, who's going to tell the Prime Minister? Look at the UPA 2 from 2004 to 2014. Media was critical, sometimes overcritical, sometimes also incorrect, but at least they had the courage to speak up. No one is speaking up now. So I think it's wrong for the media. It's bad for the government. I say bad because until you get the right feedback, you take wrong decisions.
But sir,
And you
solution
don't-
क्या होगा इसका?
Solution here to allow the media to function the way it is. Don't hound editors, don't hound owners. If you hound owners and if you hound editors, then the signal is there. Only people who are very courageous will go to YouTube and make those statements. Otherwise, who's going to make that statement? The moment, see, in my book, I wrote a chapter on Mr. Modi. Okay. Now, people are still trying to discover whether they should hound me or they should praise me. Because I have written about the positives of Mr. Modi. I have also written, as I've told you, what is going wrong there. Now, one part, if you look at it, everyone will say he's a bhakt. The other part, he will say, Arey, he's become a Congressy.
आते हैं comments आपको?
आते हैं, बिल्कुल आते हैं. बिल्कुल आते हैं. Because जिसने जितना देखा उतना समझ लेता है वो. He can't realize that whether it's an institution, organization, or an individual, he is a bundle of goods, bags, and uglies. So the job of the media is to pick the right things and present it. I mean, no one is perfect. Who's perfect? Mr. Modi is not perfect. So if Modi has some positive qualities, they should be highlighted. If some good is happening in the country, that needs to be highlighted. But if something is not going right, that also needs to be highlighted. You can't justify every wrong on the basis because I'm a bhakt, so every wrong is part.
100% rationality जो है.
Absolutely. That's what democracy is all about.
The argument on the YouTube side of digital reporting is that when you have mainstream media which is that far, so then you need this, उसको counter करने के लिए you
So
need this.
you can always justify what's going on. I mean, there's always an argument. My contention is both should become a bit more balanced.
But इसके अंदर कुछ safeguarding through policies नहीं हो सकता है because
But
they are scared, right?
Policy से नहीं हो सकता. See, world over media is not governed through policies.
Okay.
Media has to evolve itself. All that the government needs to do is to keep a safe distance in this. Don't unnecessarily interfere with what media is doing. What, to my mind, has happened is that government has got so much into media that media tends, either you go to YouTube or if you're in mainstream, you jolly well do what you are asked to do.
So you're saying there is no way to enforce it. It's a coming of age of.
My contention is in all democracies world over, such things evolve. We are an evolving democracy. So I'm an optimist. I feel that this will improve because it was an experience of past 10 years. If you look at the current elections, my hunch is this would improve because there is no brute majority in the parliament. I think some of the brutish actions of the government will be taken care of. That's my hope. And things will improve.
And that's my next question. You've worked both in coalition as well as majority governments. What do you think will change in the sense that is it for the better?
Certainly for the better. Certainly for the better. I am very hopeful that this mandate will help the country, the government, everyone. Because there would be some checks and balances. You know, what we were seeing was all checks and balances either taken care of or gone. That is not good for the country. Now you have a very competent leader sitting at the Prime Minister who's capable of doing things, but he can't run away with everything. There is some check and balance there. And I think that's good for the democracy, for the country also.
And the sectors that you worked with, you mentioned very broadly that what's your expectation from Modi 3.0, but any particular sectors that you're looking at? You worked in education sector, you worked in coal sector.
Okay, so let me go step by step and explain this to you. First, I think Modi is extremely fond of technology. Extremely fond of it. I mean, what he recognized in me when I was coal secretary was the technology part of it. Now, I hope this time Modi 3.0 will use technology in PMO itself. You know, a large number of departments have digitized their files and papers. And one of the biggest problems with the government is the delay in decision making. You know, if delays are cut out, corruption will come down, many things will happen. I think enormous amount of delay happens in the PMO. And there the files are not digital. I have written also about it. Why doesn't, Modi would, his fondness for technology should lead to digitization of files in PMO. What will that do is, he will know while traveling who's sitting on which file for how many minutes, how many seconds, where is it pending.
But that they would already know. Is it the digitization?
I don't think so. Because I distinctly remember one of the ministers who had the courage to speak up during meetings was Nitin Gadkari. And I used to admire him for that. He used to say, sir, file तो आपके PMO में pending है. And उसके बाद फिर chaos होता था, भागदौड़ होती थी, कहाँ file है, क्या है. But why not make it a system? You don't have to, physical file monitoring is very difficult. But if you have digital, I know it. We did it in coal, we did it in education, where no officer had the courage to sit on file beyond a time. Because he knew that I could know, I may not know, I could know who's sitting on which file. Files moved. It's as simple as that. Because I had that experience in the UPA 2 also, when I was heading project monitoring group to fast track projects, each of which was more than 1,000 crore. And at a time when scams were breaking out. So we fast tracked decisions to the tune of about 5 lakh crores of rupees, thanks to the digital system. Because everyone knew who was sitting on which file. So what really needs to be done, I hope he does it, he uses technology to expedite decision making. And charity has to begin at home. It has to begin from the top. If the PMO digitizes files and does not receive physical files, then everyone will have to digitize. And the world actually can know who's sitting on which file. To give you a concrete example, one of the reasons why PSUs, the public sector undertakings, central public, are not doing well because they don't have the right number of directors at every time. You know, there's so much pending in selection of directors. Years. When I left as co-secretary, there was no regular chairman Coal India for full 1 year. So all this will go because it will get to be known. You know, one way to solve most of the problems in the government is to make it transparent. And how do you make it transparent? Technology allows you to do that. And I'm saying that which I did. I'm not saying it's theoretical. It can be done should be done. Hopefully it will be done.
सर एक स्टूपिड सवाल, अगर 2014 में आप कह रहे हो यूपीए 2 पे ये मतलब वी नो दैट इट्स नॉट टफ राइट टू डिजिटाइज द
Absolutely not.
तो वो अब तक हो जाना चाहिए था, मतलब
बिल्कुल।
फ्रॉम अ लेमैन
बिल्कुल,
पर्सपेक्टिव मुझे
बिल्कुल,
लगता है कि अगर
बिल्कुल।
2014 में कुछ चीज हुई और प्रूव हो गई तो वो हो जानी चाहिए थी।
Absolutely.
तो इट्स द विल।
It's attitude. See, I keep telling this. Everyone talks about specialization in the IAS. This I said nonsense.
नहीं, उस
Don't
दिन
make
में
them.
आना था मेरे, हाँ नहीं।
Get into attitude. If I have that attitude to get things moving, if I have that positive attitude to find solutions to the problem, I'll find it. Expertise की कमी थोड़ी ना है, technology की कमी थोड़ी ना है. Technology तो है. Digitization of file is available, not with outside. NIC has worked a wonderful software. Many departments now have it. Why not PMO?
ठीक है, you were breaking it down. One of the things was कि PMO के अंदर there should be more technology.
Second, I'm sure they will do it, but there has to be a prioritization. Now, every government is short of money world over, whether US, everyone. So you have to prioritize what you got to do. Where are you spending your money? I hope this government doesn't spend too much money on statues, on inaugurations, on all the jazz that goes around. Having program here, Make in India is a classic example. Look at the money that was spent to launch it world over, and look at what has actually happened.
बताओ ना सर, very few people
You know,
talk about
in
it.
Make in India, there were two primary objectives. One was increasing the contribution of manufacturing from 13 to 14%, which stood in 2014, to 23 to 24 or around that much. It has actually come down, contribution. And with all the drama that we did all over the world. Similarly, it also promised to create employment. Look at what is happening to employment. So don't Make in India in the manner in which Make in India was done. It was a very important, good program, but so much focus on road shows. Instead of road shows, I hope this government focuses on substance.
People who are policy makers also know this did not work, right?
So sometimes we all become delusional. We delude ourselves into believing.
सर अगर हम ये बात कर पा रहे हैं,
अबे ड्रग क्यों लेता है आदमी? उसको पता है नुकसान होगा, वो डिल्यूजन में जाना रहता. I mean, at some point in time, I used to feel, why are we being delusional? I'll give you a totally different example to explain this to you. I was Secretary of Education, and I discovered children getting 100 out of 100 in English literature. So I was shocked. I said, how can you get 100 out? You can do it in math, science, but not in English literature. So I was told कि सर वो ऐसा है कि बोर्ड जो है वो स्पाइक कर देते हैं मार्क्स, तो जितना मिला उसमें 10% और जोड़ देंगे तो 100% हो गया.
बट वो सबका नहीं होता होगा.
मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको. So I was shocked. I said ये क्या है? सबका. आपके CBSE में अगर
मुझे लगा फेल होने तो प्लेस मार्क्स,
फेल होने में तो था, वो ऊपर भी लगने लगा. इट स्टार्टेड विद फेलियर के पास करने के लिए ऊपर लगने लगा, तभी 100 हो जाता. हाउ एल्स डू यू एक्सप्लेन 100 out of 100? ओके. So I called all the chairman of the state boards and CBSE and had a discussion. You know, first response, सर आप क्यों इसमें घुस रहे हैं सर? उसमें बच्चा भी खुश है, टीचर भी खुश है, स्कूल भी, हर जना खुश है. आप इसको क्यों करना चाहते हैं? हमने कहा it's delusion. But everyone is happy with that delusion. They know they don't deserve that, but they get it and they're very happy. You know, when I finally mandated that this has to be done away with, many of my own colleagues rang me up. कि सर क्यों कर रहे हैं, अगले साल कर लीजिएगा, 2 साल बाद, इस साल मेरी लड़की बैठ रही है. This sort of a nonsense. So we believe in delusion. Now this goes to the government level also.
Can a government agree that they...
It's not a question of agreement. It's a question of you get a high. Everyone wants a high. Government also wants a high. I see nothing wrong in it. I mean, everyone wants a high, please have it. But don't leave the substance behind. As I keep saying, it is nice to dream. Everyone should dream. If you don't dream, you won't reach there. But you have the feet firmly on the ground. That is what they lost. Make in India is a classic example. And very interestingly, it was never reviewed against the objectives that were laid down. तो हर जना क्या कहता है, अब तो मोबाइल फोन बहुत ज्यादा बन रहे हैं इंडिया में. अरे भाई मेरे, you can't use anecdotal evidence to prove a point. You have to have data, and data clearly established didn't work. So this is second. The third is, which emanates from second, is we should accept the existence of a problem in order to solve it. We can't push the problem under the carpet to find a solution. Accept it. What is wrong? I mean, I used to often say, so much good was happening in the previous government. but there was not so much good that was happening. So whereas you should take credit for what is good is happening, accept the fact of other goods not happening. So for example, unemployment. If there was a problem with unemployment, by hiding the data of unemployment, you can't say there is employment. So accept the fact that there is an issue. I mean, governments have to accept that fact and then work out a strategy how overcome it. So instead of doing that, you push it on the carpet so you're not even thinking about it. It emerges as a bigger problem. So what really I hope this government does is they accept the existence of a problem.
Has it been done with previous governments?
You know, somewhat,
Because that
yes.
was I was saying कि डेटा अगर पहुंच गया तो publicly I have मतलब मैं तो सिर्फ बहुत छोटा हूँ I have never seen someone come up and say we failed
No, you need not say that I failed.
or we could have done better.
Yeah, that you can say.
But नहीं सर
खूब कहते थे पहले. You listen to Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's speech. I'm not talking of other governments. He used to accept a failure. He had the courage to do that. You may not call it a failure, but you say, we have traveled this distance, we have to travel more. ये humility तो हो हमारे पास. I mean, to accept the fact that we decided, again going to make in India, you can say that we've done this much. Yes, we couldn't do this because of these reasons and we are trying to. You have to have that humility. I think hubris was the problem. And that's what gives me hope in the current government, that hopefully there will be no overconfidence. There will be acceptance of issues, problems, and work out a strategy. I mean, that's how it comes up. You work out a strategy. I saw that in the first 2 years of Modi government. There was acceptance of issues. It's not that they didn't accept it.
Okay.
So, for example, in coal, they understood the problem. When I explained, they understood the problem. And they accepted the problem. And then we worked out a strategy. We found a solution to it. So it's not that, you know, I used to tell Mr. Modi, I remember in a conversation, I told him, sir, power sector में बड़ी problem है. And he agreed with me comprehensively. तो मैंने कहा साहब करना क्या है इसमें जो गुजरात में हुआ और जगह करना. Gujarat is a classic model for how to handle power sector. And the tragedy was, in Rajasthan also you had a BJP government, and Rajasthan was not learning from Gujarat, adjoining state, similar terrain. So I used to tell very bluntly, why don't you send a team from Rajasthan and sit in Ahmedabad and understand from the officers there as to how did they do it in Gujarat. And since you have the same government there, implement it here. It's not very difficult.
सर ये तो यही बातें मतलब मेरे को बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है यही बातें तो हम अपने दोस्तों के साथ करते हैं मैं चंडीगढ़ से हूँ आपको चंडीगढ़ का इंफ्रा पता है ऑल्दो इट्स अ वेरी स्मॉल सिटी इट्स अ यूटी आप चंडीगढ़ से आप निकलो और मोहाली पहुंच जाओ
वो हालत खराब है.
सेम आदमी सेम गाड़ी सेम सिग्नल तोड़ के चले जाते हैं
So वही चीज हमें समझ के करनी है. उसके लिए थोड़ा इंटेंसिटी चाहिए. And I'm comparing power with coal. In coal, we sorted the problem because we didn't convene a single meeting in Delhi to discuss the issues. Every meeting was in the state. In power sector, most of the meetings were in Delhi. आप कैसे कर लेंगे? Same minister, two departments, one sorting out an issue, other claiming to sort out an issue, we still have a problem. So जो claim होता है ना वो problem है.
When you say meetings in Delhi, the states were not part of that.
No, they were called to Delhi. It's not that. In some cases they were. In some, आप देखिए आप दिन भर मीटिंग कर रहे हैं 25 चीफ सेक्रेटरी या सेक्रेटरी बैठे हैं क्या बात कर लेंगे आप स्टेट में जाएंगे वहां दिन भर उसके साथ लगाएंगे और जूनियर ऑफिसर्स you have to take a lot of people along with you in order to get things done not merely the top man everyone has to buy into the idea that you're selling so when you go to the state you're talking to 40-50 officers sitting there you're selling your idea to them. Imagine if when they accept rather than a one person coming to Delhi or two persons coming to Delhi and getting 10 minutes to discuss their issue. I've seen it myself. It works. It works brilliantly. So you have to go down to where the problem is. I hope this government does that.
Especially in the states run by the same government, there should be models that
let me tell you. Absolutely correct. But even governments not run by it is even more necessary for you to go to the states. Coal existed in states where the BJP government was not there. West Bengal, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, partly MP, partly Maharashtra. So it was all the more reason to go down. You can't boss over. The fourth point which I was coming to, which emanates from this is, let us call a ceasefire in the ongoing war between the center and the states. Because center, to my mind, is a fiction. Actual action is in the state, physical action. You can't keep bossing over them.
But ये होता है ना सर
नहीं, आप देखिए दोनों
पंजाब
चीजें
से
होती
हूं
हैं,
मैं, तो अभी
दोनों चीजें होती हैं भाई. coal happened because we didn't boss our states. We conveyed a value proposition to them. We told them what is in it for them, some of which they didn't know. So I distinctly remember having gone down to Kolkata and with a piece of paper. And Chief Secretary was a year junior to me, but I went over and met him. And I gave him that piece of paper. I told him, West Bengal is losing per day so much money by not giving me land. Okay? So much in employment, so much indirect employment. I said, I could have written a letter to you, and 5 years down the line, CAG would have pointed it out. No, I don't want to write a letter. You please show it to your Chief Minister. Convince her that let the political battles go on. Why should states suffer on account of that? I don't know what happened. I got land for 7 blocks from West Bengal when they were firing salvos at each other. So the question is, enter into a dialogue with them. You may still not be able to solve all the problem, but a dialogue is better than a bullet. So what is happening now is central government is firing a salvo, then state government is firing. So what is this going on? So because there has to be the ceasefire in the war that is going on between the center and state, I hope the current government does that.
सर 3-4 बहुत चीज़ें चल रही थी कि if BJP comes to power, NDA comes to power, we will have big reforms such as one election, one nation, one election. Do you have any thoughts on that? इसके पहले भी governments ने बात करी है.
You know, ideally speaking, there should be one, because we waste a lot of money on that. Ideally speaking. But I don't think at this point in time should be anywhere on the priority list. There are many other things to do. You know, you have 24 hours a day. You have to decide what all. As I said, ideally speaking, country should not be in an election mode throughout the year.
है ना?
So my personal view is, have elections and get over it and start doing some work. But beyond it, I'm not giving it a thought at this point in time because there are many more urgent issues to be addressed.
Ultimately, it's about saving of money.
Not merely money. The government machinery, time.
It's always in
you know,
campaign
always
mode.
in the election mode. So government functioning suffers, no?
And your personal view on caste census, because उसके दो पहलू बहुत दोनों ही सही लगते हैं, but
See, caste census.
जरूरी है कि नहीं है?
Caste census is important to understand where we are going.
Correct.
Because as some people have rightly pointed out, that some castes have actually been left behind and it's not known which castes. Though frankly speaking, I often wonder when will we get over this whole system of caste. I think the sooner we get over, the better it is. Because it is taking us back. Caste, you know, I personally speaking, I didn't know what my caste was. When I joined my bachelor's in Allahabad, some people started asking about me. So I rang up my dad. I booked a call and asked my dad that everyone is asking my caste. So he informed me about my caste. Okay, I knew what my caste was. 35 years down the line when I got married, my son was in Bangalore. He was studying here. He had to fill some form and he had to write his caste. He rang me up from Bangalore to ask me what his caste was. So that was my understanding of caste. What is this caste? What is the purpose caste is serving at this point in time? Or for that matter, at any point in time. To me, caste consciousness itself is taking us back.
But isn't it a very utopian scenario?
It is utopian. It is utopian. But if you look at the way social mobility or economic development is happening, I think a lot more inter-caste marriages are happening now than they were earlier. A lot more.
हाँ जी.
Oh, numbers could be much more. And once that happens, then people will start forgetting their caste. No? So it's economic development and social mobility that will do it. It might sound utopian, but fact of the matter is, caste is one of the biggest debilitating factor in our society.
But can you separate politics and caste?
No, unfortunately not. Today, I come from UP. I told you in the beginning, caste determines politics. So that's a given data. We have to keep working towards it. Unfortunately, we keep reinforcing it over a period of time. We start reinforcing caste. Instead of reinforcing, there should be small steps to see how that distinction gets blurred over a period of time. In many cases, it is. In urban areas, you see there's a lot of blurring already happening. Okay, urbanization will lead to that blurring. In rural areas, it will probably take much longer time.
Sir, parliamentarians are able to do other jobs. ये बहुत commonly सवाल आता है. Is there no rule that they cannot do?
Why shouldn't they do other jobs?
Why not?
Why stop them? I mean,
Because
as per
if I'm focused working on something.
No, the government, the people decide whether he is not doing his job or not. Who am I to tell them Parliament should do this or parliamentarians should not do
No,
this?
but if they are employed somewhere else, someone is doing commentary, someone is doing acting, someone is doing something. That's not how
That's for
other
the,
functions
no,
work,
that's
right?
for the people to decide that this guy is doing more of commentary rather than serving us. Next time they will kick him out. Who am I to decide?
No, sir. Rules
How-
तो होने चाहिए.
No.
I मतलब.
See, for government servants it's different. But for parliamentarians who are there temporarily for 5 years, you can't deprive them of things that they're doing otherwise.
But they are getting benefits of being a parliamentarian.
So that's what the people will decide whether the benefits they are getting, they are giving it to them. See, the point is who decides who does what. That's the question. Sitting here, say in Bangalore or sitting in Delhi, I decide Parliament should not do this. It's unfair.
Correct. समझ गया sir. But
I shouldn't be deciding it. I may have a point of view that, okay, they should not be commentating. Though I personally feel he should be. But there are certain activities like Office of Profit they can't hold. It's already decided. They can't hold an Office of Profit. MPs can't. So if they hold an Office of Profit, they can't. But otherwise, I would not like to put too many constraints on them. He can
not
do
even
his
about the
commentary.
attendance.
Sorry?
Attendance in parliament.
Attendance has to be. Attendance has to be. There has to be minimum attendance in the parliament. That can be done.
सर जब गवर्नमेंट चेंज होती है तो सिविल सर्वेंट की लाइफ पे क्या फर्क आता है?
मजा आ जाता है.
बताओ.
See, when you are in service, you know, in the book that you have here, not just a civil servant, in the last chapter I've written, if I were to be born again, I'd like to be an IAS officer. Okay. And I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of my existence as a civil servant. I'm enjoying it even more. And let me explain this to you why. When I was in service, I was bound by a code of conduct. I tried to enjoy things that were allocated to me. And I started enjoying them. Now, I do only those things which I enjoy. So that's a great choice now. So if I don't enjoy talking to you, I am not bound by order from my minister to talk to you. I will walk out. It doesn't really make a difference to me. So that's the freedom that I have now to be able to do and speak what I want to do without any constraint. There were constraints when I was in the government.
No, I'm saying when the government changes. This is
Okay,
post-retirement.
you were talking of...
When the government changes,
It doesn't matter.
कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
How does- I'll keep commenting on, on what is happening, what is not happening. Change of government doesn't make any difference to me.
Sir, you speak so highly. I read that part also. If I were born again, आजकल बहुत डिबेट चल रहा था. संजीव सन्याल had spoken about it. कि it's a waste of energy and time for the youth of India to spend 6 to 8 years for UPSC when you know that the percentage, I think 1 million, I was reading data, 1 million people give exams and 0.2% is the success rate. What are your thoughts on that?
You know,
is it worth?
That's his personal statement. I don't want to comment on that. But my personal view is that anyone aspiring to become civil servant should give it his entire thing for the 3 years, 3 attempts, not beyond that. Then you should think of something else. I mean, there are some exceptional cases who qualify after 3 attempts. After 3 attempts, you should look at something because something is missing somewhere. But appearing for 3 years is not a waste of time. I think we should get the best of talent in the civil service because you influence the minds and actions of so many people in the country. I mean, while doing Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, the health insurance scheme, we were influencing 35 crore people in the country. Which private sector does that? So, and as a district magistrate, you're influencing lives of so many people in the district. As head of the department, you're influencing the lives of so many people. So if you have nincompoops sitting there, then imagine what's going to happen. So you have to have the best sitting there because the impact that a civil servant makes on the lives of common men and women, and also on the poor people, on people who do not have much. So they have a very important role to play as in the private sector. I mean, I don't want to belittle the role of private sector, but belittling the role of civil servants is also wrong.
एजुकेशन सेक्टर पे मेरे को थोड़ा सा डिटेल में बात करना है. मैंने पढ़ा सब कुछ. तो when you took up that, so has the allocation of budget in the this thing has gone down in the last 10 to 20 years?
I have not seen the allocation in the last 10 years. When I became school education secretary, I looked at the budgetary provision for school education. And I was aghast to see that the allocation between 2014 and 2016 for 3 years had actually gone down even in nominal terms. And I have written that in my book. Which shocked me because the government was toying with the idea of national education policy and things like that. I said, without money, where do you go? You have to have money. हमारी तरफ कहते हैं ना, जेब में नहीं पत्ता चल दिया कलकत्ता, आपको पैसा तो होना पड़ेगा. And if you talk big about certain sector, then you have to have money to back it. So that was a bit of a shocker to me. I don't know what happened thereafter, but in 2017, I remember, we got the budget increased. Because I presented it before the PMO, they were themselves a bit surprised, and then they agreed, and we got increased. I don't know what happened thereafter. I haven't followed.
ठीक है, तो जो आपने बुक में लिखा है उसको लेमैन टर्म्स में अगर समझा जाए कि द प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ द एजुकेशन सेक्टर, तो
देखिए, एजुकेशन सेक्टर पे तो मैं ज़्यादा नहीं कह सकता, लेकिन स्कूल एजुकेशन पे आई हैव सम आइडिया. सो व्हेन आई स्विच्ड फ्रॉम, I was posted out of coal and went into education, as I've also written in my book. I was under a mistaken belief that I am getting out of the dark dungeons of coal mines to the bright lights of school education. And to my utmost horror, I found that the mafias of school education were much worse than the mafias of coal. Because in coal, the mining happens underground and mafias are overground. In education, all the mafias are underground, eating into the essentials of Indian society. And long-term damage. So I've written at length about these mafias in school education. During the 20 months that I was there, I did try to handle some of them, sorted some out, failed in some. But school education is critical, but unfortunately what happens is, not only this government, governments after governments do not give the requisite importance to school education. And the reason is very simple. Almost all politicians are looking at today at the best tomorrow. They're not looking 5 years, 10 years down the line. Education is what is the consequence of what you do now in the next 5, 10 years. And if politicians don't have that vision, then how do you expect them to provide the focus that is required for school education? That was a problem with school education.
बट सर क्या माफिया है ये, मतलब स्कूल एजुकेशन के
Well,
माफियाज
there are
हैं
a variety of them. The biggest mafia in school education, which I found, was the B.Ed and D.Led colleges. These colleges train individuals to become teachers. And we discovered that out of 16,000 such colleges, I'm talking of 2016, out of these, 4,000 did not exist or existed in a single room, and they could give you a degree without imparting any education. So we started action against them. And unfortunately, we failed. The chairman of NCT had to resign from the IAS because of the pressure that was put on him. Very unfortunate. So this was probably the biggest mafia. Fortunately, the national education policy attempts to address this part. There are many more mafias. There's a publication mafia. Publication mafias was very interesting. They didn't bribe anybody, or I thought they weren't. All they did was to delay the publication of books by NCERT, which meant that the books were not there, and hence they could push their own books.
So this was hand in gloves, or this is how it was operating?
I don't think it's what hand in gloves, because government is beset with delays. They're natural delays. It's not that someone is consciously doing it, but that benefited these guys. So I remember in 2017 when I got these books on time, because I got a hang of it and ensured that in CRT, these guys must have incurred a loss of about 2,500 to 3,000 crore in 1 year.
Wow.
So that's the money that is there, and that's the mafia of publication. Then there is a Nakal mafia. Nakal mafia, you come from Chandigarh, but in UP, if you know what Nakal was, of course, Mr. Yogi has sorted it out. But I remember as subdivisional magistrate way back in 1985, I had the mortification of seeing what happens in a Nakal center.
सर वीडियोस देखिए एक दो जो कभी-कभी वायरल होती
You
हैं.
can't imagine what happens. You know, I remember my driver telling me, sir, आज सुबह चलिए आपको एक नज़ारा दिखाएंगे. I said, क्या नज़ारा देखो? बोले चलिए. मैं चला गया उनके साथ. एग्जाम चल रहे थे. जैसे ही मैं एक सेंटर पे पहुंचा, वहां से लोग खिड़की से कूद के बाहर निकल रहे थे.
ये आपने देखा है?
मैंने खुद अपनी आंख से देखा. I've written it in my book. So मैंने उससे पूछा क्या? बोले सर ये नकल कराने आए थे, भाग रहे हैं आपकी कार देखकर, आपकी जीप देखकर. So that was one. Then second day he tells me, सर आज थोड़ा जल्दी चलेंगे. क्यों? सर आज आपको दूसरा नज़ारा दिखाएंगे. अजीब मजाक है. ले गया मुझे. वहाँ स्कूल पहुँचा, दूसरे स्कूल में पहुँचा, बड़ी शांति थी. हमने कहा यहाँ तो ठीक ठाक चल रहा है एग्जाम. बोले नहीं सर, वो आम का बाग देख रहे हैं ना सर, वहाँ पे पेपर गया, उसको सॉल्व कर रहे हैं. जो सॉल्व कर लेंगे तब आगे नकल कराएंगे यहाँ पे. सो वहाँ पे यूपी में ठेका लेते थे कॉलेजेस का नकल कराने के लिए. सो दिस वाज द लेवल. एंड द माफिया, देयर इज अ माफिया. मतलब कॉलेज को एग्जामिनेशन सेंटर बनाने के लिए पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर पड़ता था कि इसको सेंटर बनाइए. सो मनी इन्वॉल्व इन इट. बट फॉर्चुनेटली Yogi Adityanath has managed to sort it out. I am told, this is hearsay, that he sorted it out.
Paper leaking.
Paper leak.
Abhi NEET
Paper
exam.
leak is more accidental. I don't think there's a mafia working on that.
So it's case by case.
Case by
happens.
case, ko galti ho gayi, chhut gaya. I don't think it's an organized way of it. See, what I have told you so far is organized.
Organized.
There will be errors, faults, deficiencies that will be there in any system. Then there is this private school mafia,
Fees.
fee structure. That again UP sorted it out. So, the mafias that are ruining the school education system. And when I say mafia, you should not mistake me that all schools are doing that or all teachers are doing. No. There is, world over, mafia is run by a very handful of people who are very powerful. Majority of them are correct. So private schools, majority of them are very good schools. But some of them who rule the roost do that and bring a bad name to the entire community.
Have you stay in Delhi, right?
I stay in Noida technically. I travel a lot. So
Okay. Have you looked at the Delhi ka jo schools and everything, which is
phenomenal.
so? Is there merit to it?
Oh yes, absolutely. I have gone on record as school education secretary what wonderful work was being done in government schools in Delhi, and I have absolutely no doubt about it.
So sir, again, वो हर जगह क्यों नहीं हो सकता? मतलब, isn't
See,
it
Delhi-
how difficult is it to make government schools?
No, I agree with you. There are other states also doing very well. For example, in Rajasthan, they improved quite dramatically. In Chhattisgarh, they improved quite dramatically. Not to the level of Delhi. Delhi is a very concentrated area where you can do a lot of things. But good things were happening in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh also. So that's what gives me hope. It can be done because it is being done. The question is whether I am looking at those good models, whether I am deriving some lessons out of it, and whether replicating it. I was personally of the view that Niti Aayog should do precisely this. Instead of running their own aspirational districts, they should pick up good models all over the country, hold conferences and sensitize others that here is a good model, replicate it. If you want any other help, we'll help you. So play the role of a facilitator rather than doing it yourself, which Niti Aayog has started indulging in. They started doing aspirational districts directly and impinging on the work of other departments. No. To my mind, Niti Aayog should best play the role of a facilitator.
Is there a facilitator in India today, or it is just left to the?
Generally, everyone wants to monitor. I remember when I was school secretary, people used to tell me, "यार तुम monitor नहीं करते." हमने कहा, "Monitor किसको करेंगे यार? ये पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, exam pass करेंगे, monitor क्या करेंगे?" I have to be a facilitator. So I became a principal facilitator, both coal and education. I said, "Who am I sitting here to tell you should do this, you should do that?" No. You would know by and large, but if you need any help, I am there to help you. And I will show you where good is happening. I mean, that actually seeded the idea of Nexus of Good. You find a good happening, you provide a platform to be roadshowed so that others first start believing that good can happen because good is happening. And secondly, learn from that model, customize it, and do the same thing. To my mind, that's what Niti Aayog should be doing.
सर ये जो माफियाज और ये सब मतलब जो मैंने बुक पढ़ी तो डू यू थिंक इन द लास्ट 10 years दिस मतलब स्कैम एंड एवरीथिंग द एरा ऑफ स्कैम्स द लास्ट 10 years was not the era of scams?
I must give it to the government in last 10 years that the problems that existed in the UP government, they went away, those types. But new problems came. New problems came. We discussed what happened to institutions. That is a very serious problem. If institutions stop playing the role that they ought to play for whatever reason, then in the long run we are going to have a problem there. Then
so you have a problem of centralization now.
Yeah, not only centralization, institutions have their own role in keeping control over issues. Whether it's judiciary, whether Election Commission of India, all these institutions have a very important role to play. So that is one. The second part is also important, that issues like Pegasus, issues like the electoral bond were not sufficiently discussed, not sufficiently revealed. So that again does a long-term damage. So electoral bond, as it is coming out now, was something, I was personally not against electoral bond. I still am not. But the transparency associated with the electoral bond was missing. It was opaque. So if you don't reveal who's contributed, then you will never know whether there was a quid pro quo.
But that exactly was electoral bonds, right? That
No, in electoral bonds per se, they were not to reveal the names of the,
correct.
which was wrong. Electoral bond itself was not wrong. You are making a formal contribution, but the information was not available. So formal contribution, because it was earlier all under the table. Now it is open, that the money is openly coming here. But from where it is coming should have been revealed, because that's how you link whether there was a quid pro quo, and whatever little information that we have now, there was indeed quid pro quo.
Sir, but उसके लिए कौन अभी what next? Because
What next is simple. Now, of course, the Supreme Court has struck it down. But if I were there, have electoral bonds, reveal the information. Period. You know, half the problem will go away from this country if we bring in transparency. It's the opacity that creates all the problem.
बट सर आपकी जो बहुत ही फेमस लाइन मेरे को बड़ी अच्छी लगती है फॉर समथिंग टू वर्क इन इंडिया यू हैव टू बी
Oh, yes. No, but it can be done. Let's look at it. I have said that for any idea to fructify and sustain over a period of time, it has to be politically acceptable, socially desirable, technologically feasible, financially viable, administratively doable, judicially tenable, emotionally relatable, and environmentally sustainable. Let us look at electoral bonds in these dimensions, okay? So political acceptability, barring the ruling party, everyone agrees. Even the ruling party would agree if sit in a room and talk to them. Everyone will agree that electoral bonds are good, but they should be transparent.
So, but they will not agree, no, sir.
No, now of course, now the judicial tenability part has come. Now the Supreme Court has struck it down. Now let us take, for example, I'm taking a theoretical formulation. The government comes with the proposal, okay, we'll have electoral bonds, but we'll make them transparent. My hunch is that everyone will agree with that. My hunches. The problem with electoral bonds was not electoral bonds themselves, but the opacity associated with it. And I'm very clear in my mind on that. I can talk to anybody and convince him, see, instead of taking money under the table, you take it over the table, let everyone know who will be against this. But from where it is coming, that was not being revealed. That was the problem. So it is socially desirable, it is eminently technologically feasible, it is financially viable, it is administratively doable. Judicial tenability will come once opacity goes. I think it will be acceptable judicially also. What is wrong in it? You can do it.
The fear of the people who are donating to be known, वो part नहीं. So governments will agree, but if today our organization is donating,
let's put it this way. This comes as a part of emotionally relatable.
Okay.
You know, the seventh dimension. Now you have to convince them. You have to enter into dialogue with them. That in the larger interest, and I have done that in a number of cases where you go on convince the people that it is good for you for a long term. It requires a lot of time. Have discussions, have conferences, let it be openly discussed. Let people come up with their fears, see how their fears. I mean, there are no immediate answers available, but I have come to believe through discussions and dialogue, you will find solutions to a lot many problems. This is not that big a problem where you won't find a solution. Yes, I can't immediately suggest this is a solution, but I'm sure if you sit around a table. We talked about that mafia on school education, no? On school fee. We found a solution through dialogue, and UP government came up with the legislation acceptable to everyone. It's working beautifully there.
So the schools also accepted the private schools?
No, on the contrary, I asked the private school organization to come up with the draft legislation. They came up with the draft. The first legislation was prepared by FICCI Arise, which was an organization of private schools. I said, this is a serious problem. Let's sit down and discuss. We discussed and found a solution. I also participated in those discussions. And then that legislation was passed by. See, I'm a great believer in dialogue. The moment that dialogue ends, then suspicions start. Have a dialogue. And one problem with the previous government, and I hope it's not with this government, is that hum karenge. Look at Farmers' Bill. You know, it was one of the finest legislation in interest of everybody. It got knocked out because it was pushed through in the Rajya Sabha. Why? Should have been discussed. What was the urgency? Have a discussion. We may disagree, but you know, initially we may disagree on 90% cases. After discussion, we'll at least agree on 30 more %. So I brought you around. So that's the advantage and beauty of democracy, where dialogue helps you convey your arguments. And throughout 38 years of career, you know, we got the coal block legislation through in the Rajya Sabha when the government did not have majority. How?
Dialogue.
Thanks to Mr. Arun Jaitley. He was a consensus builder par excellence. He spoke to Mr. Naveen Patnaik, Mamata Banerjee, had a discussion with them, explained to them how it is beneficial to the states, and get it through.
Who's the consensus builder of today?
I'm still trying to look out for him. Probably Gadkari. Gadkari is a great person. He knows what he's talking. He's good at convincing people. To me, because right now you don't have Arun Jaitley, you don't have Sushma Swaraj. These two phenomenal consensus builders.
Sir, but let's look at it from अभी फार्म लॉज वापस चले गए, इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड अभी है नहीं. अल्टीमेटली इस प्रोसेस में, जो कि ब्यूटी ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है, उस प्रोसेस में टाइम भी ये लग रहा है कि वी आर नॉट एबल टू ब्रिंग इन. डू यू एक्सपेक्ट द गवर्नमेंट टू ब्रिंग इन फार्म लॉ?
हुई कहाँ? सी, अगर प्रोसेस होती तो ये दोनों लेजिस्लेशन आ जाते. दोनों में आप देखिए प्रोसेस नहीं हुई.
वो तो
आप रश थ्रू करेंगे तो नहीं होगा. आप बात करेंगे तो हो जाएगा. I've seen such legislation which was initially considered to be contentious were passed through dialogue. And that happened when Arun Jaitley was there.
And some of the other parties were anyways okay with farm laws.
Yeah,
it was just
absolutely.
They were not able to convey the benefits of farm laws.
It was not discussed. I mean, even with the stakeholders. भाई farmers group जिसको आप करने जा रहे हैं उससे तो बात कीजिए, और अच्छी बात कीजिए. ऐसे नहीं कि आपने एक बार बात करके भगा दिया उनको. You try and address some of their or dispel some of the misapprehensions. बिना बात के तो नहीं होगा ना.
सर पता नहीं, ऐसा लगता है कि बाहर बैठ के, ऑब्वियसली हर एक प्रोफेशन में होता है, बट बाहर बैठ के ऐसा लगता है कि जाके बात करके सोल्यूशन लेके आ जाओ, बट इट जस्ट डजंट हैपन.
So many factors. So many factors. अरे मैं क्यों बात करूं उससे? वो क्या है? वो तो hubris क्यों आती है when I am sitting on a high pedestal? And that's why I see good in the present dispensation that institutionally you'll have to discuss with people. You can't rush through things in the parliament. You don't have that brute majority to pass everything.
But then also leads to kind of a paralysis कि कुछ पास ही नहीं
होता है. Not necessarily paralysis. See, again, dialogue allows you. You look at UPA 1 and UPA 2. So many things happened. It's not that they didn't happen. MNREGA came through. कैसे हुआ? वो तो minority government थी भाई. Coalition government थी. They got it through. Nuclear वाला pass हुआ नहीं हुआ. So there were so many things that happened. So many things didn't happen also. So we have to learn from whatever has happened and move.
ठीक है. So coming back to that, we have to give it to this government that there has been no major scam which has come out, but there is a problem of the other kind. तो सर ये बहुत discussions होती हैं social media पे, WhatsApp groups पे, but is it possible for a government to control these organizations?
They have controlled, and it was in evidence. Not a question of possibility. Every institution was controlled. Media was controlled. ECI, Election Commission was controlled. Every ED was controlled. CBI was controlled. Everyone was controlled.
तो ये मतलब this is common knowledge कि this was controlled.
Absolutely. Who would say no to it?
They are also changing the way they are elected. That's another issue.
Look at that, the way ACI members. You know, in the current scenario, people have started doubting it because earlier also government nominated ECI. No one doubted that.
सर काउंटर ये आता है कि पहले भी तो ऐसे होता था, कांग्रेस भी तो यूज करती थी.
पहले you know, I can't recall a single instance where top politicians make the statements that they did during these elections and get away with it. I can't. I mean, I have had experience in the government and outside. I can't recall an instance of such statements being, so to say, ignored by the Election Commission of India. And saying that we didn't ask the top leaders. Why not? Should have been asked. At least a notice should have been issued, if nothing else. I mean, don't...
Notice was issued to the party president
no,
of
why
both
not
the
to the
parties?
person who made the statement? Notice should have been. Person made the statement, issue a notice. I'm not saying ultimately you disqualify him, but at least show your intent. That intent was missing, so you get away with blue murder, you keep on saying.
But अब इसको क्या reverse किया जा सकता है? Because election commission का जो selection process है, that is now different.
देखिए,
now somebody will come and reverse it because
it's not reversal. They will do what they should be doing it. It's not reversal.
Sir, should is a very subjective.
It's a very clear term. You talk to anybody, and he will tell you these statements were not compliant with the code of conduct. Anybody, whichever party here and there, अकेले में वो भी कह देगा. आप एक नोटिस तो इशू कर सकते थे ना. भाई सरकार या इंस्टीट्यूशन इकबाल से चलता है. फेथ से चलता है। इकबाल का मतलब ही नहीं कि मैं आपको डंडा मारूंगा। इकबाल ये है कि अगर आप गलती करेंगे आपको डंडा पड़ेगा
या पड़ सकता है, पीआर तो कर
you have
सकता
a reasonable belief that you'll be hit. If that belief is gone, then the system collapses.
Is the belief back now? Will it be back?
I hope so. I don't know whether it will be or not. I'm hopeful. As I said, I'm an optimist.
सर क्या जजेस को पॉलिटिशियन बनना चाहिए? क्या उनका अधिकार है या is that fundamentally wrong?
I have very clearly written on this. I have said that, and people have asked me about bureaucrats joining politics, judicial members. My understanding is very clear. Anybody holding a constitutional position should not join politics. Because he's sitting on judgments. Even a civil servant, when he occupies a constitutional position like Election Commission of India, should not join politics.
उसमें क्या दिक्कत है सर?
उसमें वो उसका he is deciding with a view to joining politics and getting a ministerial berth. It happened earlier also, not this government only. With Mr. Gill, who became a minister. Nonsense, absolutely. How can a person occupying a constitutional post, because justice should not only be done, it should appear to have been done. So if you have that intention in mind that you will gain politically, then your judgment will be. People say, but I have a different view on civil servants joining politics. I have no quarrel with civil servants joining politics. Because they are not the ultimate decision makers there. In a judgment, judge decides finally. In an election commission, the election commissioner decides finally. Here, you are part of a system. You are not the sole arbiter in particular case to benefit somebody. But here my suggestion is there should be at least 2 years cooling period before he's allowed to join politics. I mean, I have a 1 year cooling period to join a private sector, but I can resign and join a political party. How do you allow that? And the worst is when people in service join politics without joining politics. That's worst.
Okay. Are the civil servants happier in this government versus previous governments? और कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता?
मुझे आइडिया नहीं है. मैं अपना बता सकता हूँ. बाकी happy unhappy वो जाने.
Sir, when you look back, do you have any regrets of your career?
My only regret was I used to get very angry. I had a very short fuse to begin with. It became longer, but still I used to get angry. I mean, if I were to be born again, I'd go through that. Probably I'll be lesser angry than I used to be.
And were there any things that you wanted to do but you could not complete?
Oh yes, I would like to have more time in education. That's the only job that I thought I should have more time. In all other jobs, I made myself redundant. I built systems, and systems are surviving even today. Like coal secretary, we set up the auction process. Is there. RSBY, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, it was dumped for a while, but the government adopted it. It's there. The project monitoring group that I set up, the systems that I set up, they are there. It was only in education because the problems were much more complex. So if I were to be born again, if I were to do again, or if I want more time, I would like to indulge in education because that is a sector that's so critical for this country. And I thoroughly enjoyed being there. Only thing, the time was short.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.